Because if in March you had annexed that report, then you should be able to answer these questions that we are asking. Governor, it makes you look really bad that you have taken insurance, but you don't know the values of the things you have insured.
Yep.
I think it's a common knowledge in the market. How do you insure a car without knowing its value? How? What are you insuring? Maybe you could be insuring a car worth 2 million, then you get an insurance of 5 million. So where is there is no prudence?
I don't know, and ISPAC will be getting your insights on this, because the question would be, what would a competent accountant do? What would be the expectation of a member of your institute in that case? The professional expectation.
How do you let this kind of information out to the public? No, it's...
Chair, and the money you are discussing is 40 million plus. So how do you arrive at that 40 million? Is it prudent use of resources? We know Kenyans pay through the nose for taxes, and you go and say, I'll pay insurance 40 million for these assets, which even the report Senator Okongo Mgeni has raised on the extract of the report that was used by the valuation. So this 40 million to me looks like it's not real. It was spent on air in quotes, because if you cannot give us the track on how the 40 million was used, attached to what basis, to what value, then that 40 million, the spending of that 40 million cannot be accounted for.
Yeah, do we have a procurement officer in this congregation?
I think she was there.
The lady behind.
And I think she has been there for some time.
Yeah, so to ISPAC, what is your advice? Because your role here is also to help these county officers to know what they're supposed to do.
Thank you, Chair and honorable members. On the onset, we need to understand that procurement is just a function that facilitates the other activities. So before they procure the insurance for the motor vehicles, what should have happened is that they should have liaised with the other department, in this case the finance department, which is the owner of the assets of the organizations, and therefore they prepare that valuation report that we are talking about. What the senators are mentioning here is that they need to have a record of what we are supposed to insure against. They have a record. Then there is even a classification of all the assets as per the professional requirements, that if a certain asset should fall in a certain class, you depreciate them at a certain rate. So that is mandatory for any professional, that you cannot just ignore something like that. So ordinarily, you cannot just give an arbitrary figure and not support it. So we expect the documents to be in place to support that this is an asset A, that the value has been done at the current market rate. This one, then we are, because there is always a market value and a forced value, so we are ensuring that the county is able to get value in the event of something happening with that particular asset. So in this case, maybe I'm also lost as to what the professionals were doing in terms of helping the county to come up with a clear record of what they are insuring. So the value for money, we are questioning the value of money, and the procedures have actually been violated in this particular case.
Okay, we'll come back to the underwriter, and where the law says that this committee can even propose debarment of a service provider. But OAG, you're the one who did the audit.
Thank you, Chair. When it comes to insurance of assets, assets have two values. There's the cost of the asset, and then when we want to insure that asset, there's what we call valuation for insurance. So even if you bought a new car, the value you're insuring could be less. And the risk is, if you over-insure, then it means you can't get value for compensation in case of any eventuality. Thank you.
As for my knowledge sake, because this must be mitigated, and if finally EACC finds that there was actual loss of money, then who should be surcharged? Is it the procurement people? Is it the finance guys? Or is it all of them who will be surcharged? Oh, yes, I think.
Chair, I want to raise the issue. Anything to do with procurement is done by the procurement department. Finance and accounts will do the payment after everything else has been done.
Yes, you see?
Chair, to answer the question on matters procurement, when it comes to culpability of funds that have been either misappropriated or spent without justification, it falls on the accounting officer. The responsibility is on the accounting officer.
Okay. Insurance companies are clever because in such a scenario, there's a clause that they put called the average clause. So you can overinsure, but when there's a claim, they will pay you what the actual value was rather than what you had insured. And so that is loss of money. 40 million, I've just checked, is the summation of what you are collecting from markets, vehicle parking fees, and advertising. Collecting all that money and throwing it into insurance. So, Governor, maybe the final word. Do we make the conclusion that you don't have a proper asset valuation?
Chair, I've just been looking into the documents that we briefly submitted, and we have the itemized vehicles and the fair value that was put and the remarks.
And the value is historical cost.
Yes, that's why I'm coming to your Chair. This is historical. And then I've also seen what the insurance company quoted here, and the sum insured, the rate, the premium, and the remarks. I agree with you, Chair, that as it is, we've been relying on a valuation which was for a long time done in Kericho, or not current or updated one. And since I put in place a committee to do a proper evaluation, Chair, I request that this committee give me 7 days to do the proper valuation.
Can you confirm, since you have the paperwork, who is the underwriter?
It is called Driden.
Now, clerks, in our report, we must also mention that underwriter and call to question the professionalism and find out whether what they're doing is in line with the Insurance Act. Because that kind of situation, as the auditor has said, there are always two values. There could be some complicity between the underwriter and the entity. So I think let's capture that in observation. Auditor General, this matter again keep in view. We expect that you give us a better update.
I think since we used to do cash accounting, we didn't capture the whole scenario, but in the current audit, we've captured the whole picture about the insurance expenses in the county, and I think it will be in the report.
Okay.
Thank you.
Now, again, the next issue is retention monies.
Chair, before you go there, I just want to confirm to one member here that indeed I only drive a premium vehicle, and I'm minimalist because of what used to have the whole world at Lucia Soldier. I don't have driving a premium, a big vehicle.
Your responses, which are unprovoked, can lead you into a lot of problems. So let's go back to the numbers, because if you took Cherargei in that direction, this meeting will not end.
And so, that is, Chair, that is dangerous, because in one of the religious meetings, he was saying he has money. He was daring, and I can table that.
That is why I don't want us to get into that conversation.
Yes, and if he goes that direction,
so now,
he was saying
the next matter is a matter that formed part of the impeachment proceedings or allegations.
But Chair, money is also relative because you can't measure the much you have. Maybe much for me is 1,000.
Order, Governor.
And my for Cherargei is
Governor, if you want us to proceed with this meeting, allow me to drive it. Otherwise, it's going to terminate at this point. Retention monies. Retention monies. OAG, the queries that you addressed there, were they resolved? Retention monies. I remember this came up several times during the impeachment proceedings. The aging analysis was lacking. Reconciliation breakdown was not provided for audit.
It was not cleared.
To date?
Yeah, it's not.
Even up to now, it is not clear.
Yeah, because, sorry, Chair, I have to take you back. these documents, when they are brought, we had the confusion about what report we were to discuss, they had brought some documents, but for this one, it was not brought. Thank you.
I think it's of public interest for us to probe this a little bit. Governor, you may tell us what action you have taken to ensure the breakdown of reconciliation of retentions and deposits of 76 million. It's really about visibility and transparency of that amount. I think we were all present when certain allegations were made. Those allegations are not in this report. So what we deal with now is just reconciliation and a proper schedule and an assurance that you are paying the right people, an assurance that you are paying when payments are due, and an assurance that you are not borrowing from these deposits and retentions account to do other things. Is that assurance in your written response?
The county government acknowledges the committee's observations and recommendations regarding the supported deposit balance of 76 million appreciation. The following measures have been undertaken and institutionalized. Number one, the county government has commenced a complete reconciliation of the deposit and retention ledger, which includes preparing a detailed aging analysis of all deposits and retentions. Number two, linking each balance to specific contracts, suppliers, or performance guarantees. This exercise is ongoing, and to this end, the CCM Finance has appointed a team to oversee development of master register for retention of money, as shown in Annex 50. But then the accountant tells me that, let me ask the accountant to say something on it.
Okay, please proceed quite fast because of time.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. We have instituted these controls touching on retention, and now we are maintaining a retention register and a control ledger for each department. That is what we have.
My main worry is this. You see, when you pay a contractor, the retention, isn't it deducted automatically? The withholding tax?
Yeah, it is.
There are certain deductions that are processed in the system.
Yes.
So if those deductions can be processed in the system, isn't it possible to click a button and say, I want to get a statement of deposits and retentions? If I was to design a system, that would be very possible. Is it that IFMIS cannot do that?
Honorable Chair, the integration between IFMIS and internet banking, there is a gap there, whereby when you deduct from IFMIS, it will show you've deducted 10% from a certain supplier. But when you move the money to the retention account, the details do not reflect in the bank statement. But we still have the master because of the original source is the IFMIS. And that report is now when you go to the bank statement, look at the balances, the individual lines. Which
you lose us, even though I'm still with you. When you make that payment to contractor called Chirarke and Sons for construction of a road, 6% is retained. Is it 6%? Is it 6%?
10.
It's 10%. 10% is retained. The source, at the point at which that 10% is retained, it's in IFMIS, isn't it? So you can have a listing of every contractor where 10% was retained as retention, isn't it? So why do you need to set up another committee?
So it's a very easy exercise.
Help us understand. I know you are bringing in the IB complications, which sometimes tells you that you retain from supplier X, but use the amount to pay supplier Y. Auditor.
Thank you. Maybe they get it wrong because they don't do the retention as it should be done. Because as accounted, they should be having what we call a deposit account, whereby once they do the retention, they pay that money to that deposit account. But since
like,
they
like
don't-
a statutory